One of our founding fathers, one of the founding fathers of our era, Martin Luther King Jr., stated that it is the content of one's character and not the color of one's skin by which we should judge a man. Now, that truth is being reversed, but the principal word in that statement is judge. And I think that we need to really look closely at that word judge and think of it not in terms of condemnation, but of evaluation. And when I see a man and I evaluate that man, that evaluation tells me how I should comport myself towards that man. And how I comport myself towards a man is not towards that which is apparent about him, but that which he is in practice, because he is not just a statue, not just a caricature. He's a living, thinking, breathing, feeling being. And that requires me to observe his actions in order to evaluate him. And how I evaluate him dictates how I should respond to him. And what is the goal of that response? That is another open question. How should we be treating each other? To what end? So, those who would reverse the content of character for color of skin, judgment, are not only wrong about their reversal of that formulation, they are wrong in the way in which they want to go about judging other people. And they want to judge people as good and evil. And that is an insufficient way of evaluating another person. How do I treat somebody who's good? How do I treat somebody who's evil? Well, let's change the way that we're evaluating somebody. How do I comport myself towards somebody who has flaws? How do I comport somebody who has the potential for greatness? How do I enter into a living relationship with another human being that evokes all of that which is inside of them and causes them to evaluate me and then comport themselves towards me so that we're both reaching a higher end? Right? What's that higher end? Is it some monetary value? Is it some equality of possession? I guess you could chase after that. I think that there's better things to chase after, which is encapsulated in music, which is encapsulated in certain forms of prayer, which is encapsulated in communal projects of education, of building something, of inventing something, of making something useful for the world. I mean, those who would have us judge each other in these simplistic terms of privilege or oppression don't have any foresight on what there is possible in the world other than oppressing other people or serving other people, of privileging other people, of rendering my service unto them. And there's an aspect of service. I'm not saying that there isn't an aspect of service. I'm not saying that there isn't an aspect of oppression or an aspect of, let's back away from the word of oppression and say obedience and saying, I will pay you to do this job and I will try to recompense you fairly. But if you look at other people, not as resources to be tapped, necessarily, but resources that untap your own resources, then entire fields of possibility open up to you that are as yet unplowed, undeveloped. What is all that is possible for us to do? It's not found in judging one another as good and bad. It's not. That is an aspect that's a very necessary aspect of a tertiary way of judging another person. But that whole, I will judge a man not by the color of his skin, but the content of his character, that judgment in and of itself, we should investigate and really tease out all that is in there and see how people are abusing it and put an end to their abuse. Well, now what?